we have a very important conversation to have to start this hour, Lorette.
Yeah, and of course it starts with the phrase, "You changed my life." That was the message from a Vancouver Canucks team member after he tweeted over the weekend about a fan who actually urged him, a complete stranger, to have a mole on the back of his neck looked at for possible cancer. So Brian Red Hamilton is the Canucks assistant equipment manager, and he says during a game 2 months ago, a Seattle Kraken fan that was behind the bench tapped on the glass to show Hamilton a message on her phone, and it read, "The mole on the back of your neck is cancer." So Hamilton says initially that message really threw him off, but he did eventually have it looked at, and sure enough, Greg, it was malignant.
Yeah, and doctors have in fact told him that early detection was a game changer for him. And after turning to social media over the weekend to find the woman who saved his life, Hamilton and fan Nadia Popovici connected to share a hug over the weekend. It's a beautiful story and one that leaves many lessons for the rest of us. We're joined now by Dr. Colin Hong, a plastic surgeon and chief medical officer at Skinopathy. Good morning, Dr. Hong.
Good morning.
This is a cautionary tale, I think, for many of us. How often do you see patients with questionable moles or a patch of skin that has been left too long?
Yes, as a plastic surgeon, I see this very often, especially during the pandemic. As you know, it's sometimes difficult to get to see a doctor during the pandemic face-to-face. And I urge people to really look at the body, and if they see something change on the surface of the skin, they should really seek medical help.
What kind of change are you talking about? Like, what specifically can I be looking for? Because I remember years ago learning, the 7 warning signs, and the obvious change in a wart or mole was one of them. But sometimes it might not feel obvious. So what should I be looking for?
Well, so basically, if you have something on the surface of the skin that doesn't heal or is growing fast or change in color, change in border, etc., all these things are warning signs. Also, being this medical director of Skinopathy, we actually have an app that allows you to take pictures on your smartphone, and the app will send the pictures to our AI engine and warn you whether you should have something look at as soon as you can, or whether this is something that probably are benign and you can wait to see your family doctor.
Where would we get that again, Dr. Hahn, please?
So I and a bunch of physicians in Toronto and a lot of AI scientists and IT people, we have come up with an app called Skinopathy. And you can actually find this on the Android or the Apple Store. And if you download that app, it's completely free. You could actually take pictures of skin lesions or skin changes and submit your pictures to the app. The app, using the AI engine, will look at the image and compare that with our database and tell you whether this is something that you should go see your family doctor right away, or you can just speak to your family doctor at your next visit.
The website, again, is skinopathy.com. The app is Skinopathy. It has that detection method so you can see if it's something you should be worried about. But you mentioned, Dr. Hong, just the challenge of going to see your doctor right now in the pandemic. And I'm curious, what is the window for detection? What if I notice a change? Is it weeks? Is it months? Is it years? How does it work in terms of that early detection?
Well, basically, the 3 most common skin cancer are basal cell cancer, squamous cell cancer, and melanoma. And basal cell and squamous cell can do a lot of local damage, disruptions, disfigurement. And if we leave it way too long, people can pass away with it, especially squamous cell. But the most scary lesion is the melanoma. This is the skin lesion that can actually spread, and once it spreads, it's really difficult to treat. So if you have any lesions that have changed in color, especially when it's darker in color, it's something that you should really look at.
Dr. Hong, just a minute or so here. For many of us, the last almost 2 years now has meant more isolation, less contact with people in our lives, and not everybody had someone that might be able to look at our back, to look at our neck and different areas on our body where these lesions may present themselves. Have you got any advice on how we can overcome the fact that we might not have that second set of eyes available to us?
Actually, you just hit the nail right on. This is something that actually is very dear to my heart, and that's why in the beginning of the pandemic, I talked to a bunch of my friends who are in IT, who are in AI, and we decided that we will work on, and I can happy to say that we actually have come up with the app that can allow people to look at these lesions with the help of your cell phone and the help of our AI system, be able to tell you whether it's something that you really should look at immediately and call your family doctor. And if you can't find a family doctor, the app will get you an appointment with one of our doctors virtually. So in Winnipeg, we have two surgeons who is joining our network. They are Dr. Manfred Seisman and Dr. Ken Dolanchuk. So if you, for people in Winnipeg, if they see something that they are concerned, they can certainly use the app, look at the lesions, and try to consult the family doctor. Well,
Dr. Colin Hong, a plastic surgeon and chief medical officer at Skinopathy. Thank you for the time, Dr. Hong.
Thank you.
So the app, you can search it by Skinopathy. You can also go skinopathy.com, a really cool app. Greg, I was saying to you and Brett in the text chat, I'm looking to get to a specialist to take a look at this very thing in 6 months down the road. So you might want to speed that up depending on where you are at with any condition.
I've already put it on my phone, Loren. I think this is an important message. I appreciate you reaching out to Dr. Hong and for Dr. Hong making time for us today when this is front of mind for so many of us after this wonderful story out of Vancouver and Seattle over the weekend.